Said to be encouraging, the World Health Organization conducted the first phase of the tests on 2 potential drugs. According to the latest figures by the organization, the virus has claimed the lives of more than 8,200 people around the world. Well, to tell us more about this, we are joined by Lucille Blumberg from the National Institute for Communicable Diseases. It's good to have you. Welcome to the program. Lucille, when the World Health Organization says the results are encouraging, what exactly does this mean?
So the number of vaccines and the number of trials have been conducted, but on very small numbers of people. And some of them have been outside of the country. So I think early results show that there is a response to the vaccine, a protective response, and that there are safety, the vaccines appear to be safe.
Yeah.
I think the next step is to really study them on much larger populations within the potentially affected groups.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question to you. So now that we've seen the next phase over, the way forward. So is that way forward to go onto a larger scale of people?
Yes. I think it's unlikely that the vaccine will really be used in this current outbreak, but I think going forward, it obviously has a major potential use in at-risk populations in the area.
What is the status now? I mean, we've given a figure of 8,200 people's lives being claimed from Ebola. Containing it, are we seeing some headway being made?
I think the signs are looking positive about outbreak control. Number of cases in Liberia has definitely gone down, with some areas within the country not having new cases for the last 2 weeks. And I think there is a downward trend in Guinea, and I think the tide is turning in a positive direction in Sierra Leone. But lots more work to be done. Can't have Ebola fatigue, lots more resources, and it's likely that the outbreak will go on several months.
Yeah, well, if not years, months?
Probably months. I think we're starting to see some positive signs. Huge resources, particularly put into Liberia, and much more coordinated control of the outbreak.
Yeah. How are they controlling it? Because that was, when we last spoke, that was the biggest problem, was trying to contain it and not letting the virus spread.
Yeah.
Because it is so easy to catch and let others catch this disease. How do you contain it? What's happening?
It's really about breaking the chain of transmission. And it's particularly in the home setting, where relatives care for patients with Ebola without protection.
Yeah.
So it's ensuring that people are admitted to treatment centres and ensuring that there are enough treatment centres and people want to go to them. I think particularly in Liberia there are really more than adequate treatment centres, and there is a move for people to go to them because they're seeing perhaps some positive outcome for the outbreak.
Yeah, no doubt there has been an effect on tourists and travellers that perhaps wanted to come to Africa but were put off by Ebola. I'm not sure if that's your domain, but have you heard anything?
Yes.
Were there quite a few people saying?
I think it has had very negative effect throughout the continent. People see Africa as a risk all over the place, which is not true. The outbreak is confined to West Africa, and tourists would really have almost no risk.
Yeah.
You need to have contact with blood, body fluids of affected patients, and they would not have that.
Yeah.
So I think their much bigger risk remains malaria.
Yeah.
And
I'd like
it's a reminder.
Let's talk about that, because I know this is it's the biggest threat that we have here in Africa is malaria, and particularly with holidays finished now. A lot of people not taking precautions when they go to malaria areas. What should we be looking out for? What are the symptoms that you have malaria?
Well, I think anybody returning from an area where malaria occurs should be aware that if they develop a fever or a flu-like illness, they must seek urgent medical attention. They must demand a malaria test, get a result quickly, and receive treatment. And it's very easily treatable if it's detected early. Very effective drugs.
Yeah.
And I think for those who are travelling, I mean, there are many measures to take that are effective and can reduce the chances of malaria virtually 100%.
Like what? I suppose taking the medication, but if you don't want to take the medication?
I think it's protecting against mosquito bites, using mosquito repellent, covering up from dusk to dawn, and then in some areas where the risk is high, adding a mosquito net for protecting you during the night. And then medication is indicated if you're visiting a high-risk area.
Yeah. Indicated but not essential, would you?
Well, I think it is essential for people visiting high-risk areas. I think our biggest risk area for travellers is Mozambique.
Yeah.
And I think I really would recommend people to take prophylaxis in addition to preventing mosquito bites, but not missing that flu-like illness when they come back. That is key.
That's the first thing you do, even if you think it is just the flu.
Yes.
Go and get it checked out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, there's a word of advice to you. If you've been holidaying in malaria areas and you're feeling flu-y, get to a doctor. May just be the flu, but it could be malaria as well. So you say Mozambique, and I know that so many South Africans go to Mozambique during the holidays that we've just had.
It's a lovely holiday destination,
but
you don't want to pay the price, afterwards.
Yeah, let's. All right, that pretty much so summing up malaria. But I just want to wrap up our conversation on Ebola as well. The year ahead, commitment from bigger nations to work more on this, to keep up the effort against it. What have we heard? What are we expecting this year?
Well, it's difficult to say. We don't want Ebola fatigue. There are lots of other priorities, but it's very critical that the efforts are kept up, money comes in. Remember, there's a health system that is destroyed that's going to need to be resurrected in those countries. Major economic, social problems, and the outbreak is not yet over. Yeah,
indeed. I know that we've got the African Union that are going to be meeting very, very shortly. There are so many issues to discuss. I think Boko Haram in Nigeria is perhaps stealing the center stage, but Ebola still a massive risk. Do you think that they will address this at the African Union summit?
I think it is very much on the agenda, and I think Africa needs to play a role in not only this outbreak, but in future outbreaks, about setting up systems to early detection and response. And I think it's that early detection and intensive response that can prevent future outbreaks. We've not yet had a case in South Africa, but we need to continue our vigilance.
Yeah, we certainly do. Lucille, thank you for talking to us. It's been a pleasure having you. Lucille Blumberg from the National Institute for Communicable Diseases. You're reminding me of a stand-up routine that Trevor Noah did when it came to Ebola and traveling to Africa. I think many people saying that he educated the world more than anybody did after he did that stand-up routine. We can laugh about that routine, but we certainly cannot laugh about Ebola and the lives that have been lost to this dreadful disease. But again, Lucille, thank you for talking to us. Let's take a break. We'll